This video is sponsored by Aquashine Exteriors, professional jet washing and cleaning services across Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, including Dorset, Hampshire and Wiltshire. Are you feeling it's time to get that driveway nice and shiny for when you come home? Or are you wanting to get that guttering tidied up and spotless again? They deliver this, plus much, much more. Please head into the description below where you'll find their details for their website, including the socials, Facebook and Instagram. You also need to find their before and after portfolio. You can also call them on 07503 998 088 for a free quotation. Don't wait till next week. Don't think you'll do it another day. Pick up the phone, give them a call, check them out. Good evening, Bournemouth and Fulham fans. We hope you're having a fantastic week. Welcome to Cherries Red Army. If you're new around here, please do subscribe to the channel. It continues to grow with us as we head into the survival fight. 11 games to go. Hit the like button on this preview because Fulham are coming to town to play Bournemouth. It's another tough fixture. There's history between the teams. It's at Dean Court on Saturday, 3 p.m. We're all looking forward to it. We've got an opposition guest, Jon Spark, backstage as well, and we want to get you involved in the interactive chat. Do tell us how you're feeling about this fixture, but if you weren't able to join us live, thank you for watching the video and do let us know your thoughts in the comments. So it's been an interesting time. We've had a little break with the internationals, but we're all glad it's all over. Internationals, not quite for me. I want club football, blood, sweat and tears, and I'm sure that's what we're going to see between now and the end of the season. So there's some players missing. Need to get some players back in this football team. And we know that there's a few guarantees this weekend. There's likely to be goals. Bournemouth will either score early or they might leave it a little bit late. But we know it's going to be a cracking match at Dean Court. Now, get your thoughts in that chat. It's a must-win fixture for the Bournemouth team. The Cherries must win. It's your match preview. Bournemouth taking on Fulham.
Cheeky one, square! And
Here we go in the Premier League this weekend. Jon Spark, Cherries fan, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for having me on again, Kirk. Another preview. As you say, it's Fight for Survival starts on Saturday.
Definitely for us, Fight for Survival. Now, a friend of the channel, opposition guest, he's been on before, and I'm sure he's going to be very happy about his season. Maybe not about their current form, but I'm sure he's going to be very happy where they are in the league. It's Matt from Fulham Focus. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me back on. I think it's the fourth time now. So, yeah, becoming a bit of a Fulham regular on here. So hopefully it continues next season as well.
So likely to be a draw on Saturday, maybe, but we'll talk about score predictions a little bit later on. Matt, how's Fulham Focus going this season?
Yeah, it's good. Thanks, mate. Obviously, it's better when you're talking positively about things. And we've had a lot of positives to talk about as well. A couple of negatives recently, but yeah, that's just part and parcel of it, isn't it? We definitely expected it to be a lot more of a negative season, and that then creates negative content. But no, lo and behold, it's followed on from what was a great year last year. And yeah, it's going well. We're still doing our podcast and articles and yeah, cracking on.
Brilliant. Make sure you check out Fulham Focus this weekend. Details in the description for their Twitter handle. So go check them out, as well as checking out Cherries Red Army's content. And we have Aaron Kay joining us for this match preview live. Chris Hubble. We've got Morgan Scott, who's been doing some project down at Sandbanks, maybe for the club. We know that he does some modelling. So hopefully he had a good day there, Morgan. Mark Singleton. We've also got Wayne Walden. Now, Wayne is a Fulham fan, but he's a regular on these chats, and he's quite a good Fulham fan. He is polite with his comments. So yeah, this video is probably right up his street this evening. And we've also got AFC be a Fan TV joining us as well. Matt, let's go straight into it before we look at your current fixtures. You were really confident at the start of the season when we spoke to you. You thought that Fulham would do quite well. They are doing quite well. They're ninth. I'm not sure if you're quite on the beach yet, but you must be happy where you are. You're not in this relegation scrap that goes right up to 12th from where we are.
It's crazy, really, to think about it. That I mean, I think I predicted 12th or 14th or something when I was on that on the show with the Forest fan as well. And even then, I did think I was being maybe a little bit overconfident. But no, lo and behold, I underpredicted where we were going to be, certainly at this stage of the season. I mean, if you said to me after 27 games we'd be above Chelsea in the league and would have won more games and beaten them, I'd have absolutely snapped your hand off. So, yeah, it's fantastic. And it's something that I can't really believe. But then at the same time, I can believe it because Marco Silva's a brilliant manager. We've got some great players and we've strengthened. We've not replaced. We've strengthened the positions that needed strengthening. And yeah, we've really got a squad that's together and they work for each other. They fight for each other. And as fans, that's all you want. You want passionate bunch of players that are going to give it a go. And my God, they've done it this year and couldn't be happier.
John, when I go back right to the start of the season, I don't think I put Fulham close to being relegated, but there was a question mark over Marco Silva. He's had a few attempts at this league. He seems to have got it right this time. He dropped back down, had that season with Fulham, got them up, and look, he's done some great stuff there. I know there's some fans that are not really a fan of Marco Silva and his management, but for Fulham fans, he's got them in the top 10.
Yeah, I'd need to look back at that video that the three of us were on at the start of the season to remind myself where I put Fulham in there. I wouldn't be surprised if I had them either just escaping relegation or 18th. I can't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure I had Forest and Southampton down there. But yeah, I think the reason I think a few of us maybe outside of Fulham would have been quite cautious as to how they'll do this season is because of he was making similar noises to Scott Parker at the start of the season. He was saying the board are not doing enough to back the team. They aren't buying enough players and they aren't boosting the squad enough. And obviously, you could say that was most certainly the case for Bournemouth. And in the end, for Fulham, I think it kind of picked up a bit more towards middle end of the transfer window and brought in quite a few players, including some absolute bangers in possibly one of the signings of any season in Palhinha. But even since then, Willian coming in and doing absolute wonders, and it's worked. It's just worked brilliantly, and I think there's no doubt one of the reasons for that is the continuity. And whereas Bournemouth had a new manager and Nottingham Forest had two new squads, Fulham had 60% the same squad with just adding quality, and Fulham had the most exciting team in the Championship, and they've gone on to produce some really good football this season. And Marco Silva has had his critics in the past for very obvious reasons, but clearly knows what he's doing with an attacking football team. You have had needed things to go. Fulham have had needed things to go their way. Leno is outperforming his XG quite significantly. Tim Ream is having the season of his life, probably, and other great signings like Diop are helping defensively as well. But yeah, things have just sort of all come together to produce one of Fulham's best season in, well, I don't know, a generation, not including Europe, obviously.
And we'll talk about some of those players for Fulham that will probably feature on Saturday and some of the players that won't feature that have had very good seasons that Matt predicted. But I want to go back to that first fixture, Matt, between the teams. I was there, Craven Cottage. It was a great day. We played really well that day. I was disappointed we only walked away with a draw because I thought we deserved to win. But that was under an inexperienced Gary O'Neill as interim, and he was learning his way. And I think we just went back, and obviously I think it was a penalty from Mitrovic that got you the draw. But a good draw, a usual draw between the teams of late through our history, and 2-2 at the Cottage earlier on in the season.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't start very well. I remember Solanke scoring first minute, and you do wonder what the hell is going on. And straight away, you can tell that you were poles apart from a Scott Parker Bournemouth, which obviously against us, I don't like to see, but for the sake of Bournemouth fans and Bournemouth players, it's brilliant to see that you got rid of him and moved on, because I think that was what was needed, to be honest. And I think genuinely, if you'd have kept him, I think he could be well out of it. But that's more on him than the club. But Gary O'Neill, he went on that really good run. And I think from an outsider's perspective, it would have been really difficult to not give him the job permanently after the start that he had as an interim manager. And then obviously the new owners came in. I know he went on a little bit of a slump, if I'm not mistaken, just before he officially got the job. And I do remember seeing you on Twitter, Kirk, about voicing your opinions quite vocally about Gary O'Neill.
Really?
So, yeah, I know. It still pops up on my feed. But yeah, Bournemouth played really well. They looked a really good side that day. And listen, whatever's happened between the two sides before, managers shared. I hope Bournemouth stay up. A brilliant club and a great away day as well. So, yeah.
It was a good away day, John, at the Cottage. As I said, quick out the traps. Dom Solanke. I mean, we've seen that before, haven't we? A quick goal. And we couldn't hold on. They did sort of fight back to get the draw, but it was a good game for Bournemouth. I know I was happy to get something from the fixture, but I thought we were in there for a little bit more on the day. Mute.
Whoops. Yeah, up to a point. I do agree. I think a draw was probably a fair result overall, as much as, there's, when you go ahead in a game twice, you do want to get better than you do, want to get that win. But, as Bournemouth fans know, going any more than a goal in front, it does not guarantee any kind of result for us this season. But it's that was in an early period under Gary O'Neill where we were sort of getting his new manager bounce, which did fizzle out. And then when he got the job permanently, it also carried on being pretty terrible for a good few weeks. But we're coming back to the kind of football that we were playing there against Fulham, being quite strong on the counter, having players like Solanke be heavily involved. Well, Solanke was heavily involved in that game. He's been not quite able to produce as much recently, but Billing again being the key man that he has been over the last season and a half. Yeah, we're starting to find the kind of performances that we found when we played against Fulham last time, and we'll get into what Fulham's lineup might be like, and it's we've got more reasons to be positive, I think, going into this game than maybe we did going into the other one, although we weren't on a terrible run at that point. But it'll be very interesting to see if the game plays out any similarly in the reverse leg.
Now, your form's really, really good, as we spoke about, Matt. So just correcting that little banner that you saw for Fulham, because they're currently 9th, not 11th. Win, win, draw, lose, lose in the league. You've had 11 wins this season, 6 draws, 10 losses. And last time out in the league was a 3-0 loss to Arsenal. Now, this is an Arsenal team that look like they're on track to win the league. What happened on that day, though? Because you're in a good position, but is it one of those things that you've had a good season? So if you see these results come in against the top of the league, it is what it is.
We just got played off the pitch, to be honest with you. It was probably the best first half performance I've ever seen as a Fulham fan of teams that have come to the Cottage. They were unbelievable. And the 45% possession over the course of the game is probably mainly the second half, because first half we could barely touch a ball. We just got played off the park and some really poor defending. It was as simple as that. There's no point sugarcoating it about how good we've been all season, because that game we were shocking. But it's one of those things. I'm not going to be too angry about it, because it is Arsenal and they are top of the league for a reason. We know how good we've been and how good we can be. I look at how we played for Old Trafford for 70 minutes in the quarterfinal. Shows what a good side we can be. That was an off day. Same with Brentford just a few days before that as well. We just didn't quite get the result, but it's okay. We're not scrapping for points. It's just a little bit frustrating, because obviously you want to finish as high as you can. And if you've got a sniff at Europe, obviously you'd love to take it. But if we don't get it, it's just one of those things. We just go again next season. I'd be more than happy for a mid-table. So a couple of bad results, a couple of bad performances. It is what it is. And these players and the manager, they've given us the confidence that they can go again. we can play badly or not play very well, and we can still get a result. I look at Brighton away. So, we could play really poorly on Saturday and still come out with a result. It could go either way like that.
One of those days for Fulham, then, John. One of those days for Bournemouth. Off the back of beating Liverpool, we went to Villa Park confident, looking for our first back-to-back wins, but it very much wasn't that. Although we were still in the fixture until the last 10 minutes, we did eventually lose 3-0. Some weird substitutions from Gary O'Neill. And it was Aston Villa 3, Bournemouth 0. We knew there would be a better team under Emery than they were under Steven Gerrard on the opening day. But we were saying it in the review, it was one step forward, 2 steps back. And that's sort of been our season. And that's got to stop happening from here on in. But just going back to that, it was Villa 3, Bournemouth 0. Wasn't really what we wanted on the day.
No, absolutely not. I think that we were in it to an extent, but I think that the fact that the players didn't look like they woke up until after the first goal went in didn't really help matters. And it did look really quite poor in that initial period. And, when we beat Liverpool, we were going up against a team that may have beaten Man United 7-0 the week prior, but was not in great form, as opposed to Villa, who were, very much improved under Emery as opposed to Steven Gerrard, which I don't think will surprise anyone who knew anything about what Emery has done in his recent managerial positions. And setting up in exactly the same way against Villa still allowed us to create some opportunities on the counter, but again, we were just wasteful when we got forward. We didn't really produce shots. What chances were sort of starting to peek around from the counter attacks that we had. We weren't making the most of them, and then Villa pretty much dominated the game. It wasn't very good to look at in terms of a Bournemouth fan perspective, and it was still 1-0 with 20 minutes or to go. But O'Neill felt that he had to change something to make it happen, and it was a great moment, as you can see on the screen. David Brooks coming on to make his return from his 535-day absence from football. He did what he has done in his early days for Bournemouth, changed far too much, far too quickly, and it all completely backfired on him. And we lost 2 goals in quick succession at the end. It wasn't a match I really want to look back on too much, because it felt like nothing was going right in the way that we were playing. And Aston Villa absolutely deserved to win that game. So, things need to change when we come back to an even more must-win game when you're at home against a team that you expected to be down, even if they're not. You expected to be down there around you and at a similar level. So it's one that they need to learn from, but move on from very quickly.
As an outsider, Matt, you're not going to know the ins and outs of Bournemouth. You've spoken a little bit there about knowing Gary O'Neill's interim to his permanent sort of results. But when you see Bournemouth beat Liverpool, and you might have watched that because it was on TV, but then you see that they lose to Villa 3-0, what are you thinking going into this fixture? It's a really weird one for opposition teams to really probably judge what Bournemouth can do on the day.
I feel like that happens with a lot of teams, though, really. You can get a really good result and then just capitulate another week. It's one of those things, isn't it? I watched the Liverpool game, and first half, Bournemouth were brilliant on the counter-attack. It didn't look like they were fighting for survival, and got forward, and the goal was brilliant. I'm sure it was Billing, I think. And it could have he had a second chance as well. It was an absolute sitter that was missed. Could have gone 2-0 up. I remember that. And, Bournemouth looked a really good side. And I sort of thought about this game, and I thought, okay, it is a little bit worrying, because that Atara, I think it's Atara on the wing. Yeah. He looked a very good player and a very good signing. And then, a performance like that against Liverpool, you're up for it. It was the same with us on the first day. You're always bang up for games against teams like that. They're struggling. Their confidence isn't great. They're there for the taking. Villa away, as you said earlier, a different team under Emery. We've not played them yet. We've got them at the end of April. But it's one of those things you can go and it can go either way. And looking at the stats there, 3.66 XG sort of shows the sort of chances that they had. One of those things, it could just be a blip, because I looked at Bournemouth's results, and you got some decent results against the teams that you need to get decent results against. So yeah, it's unpredictable, as you say, Don't know what way it's going to go. Likely to be a draw, but I think my main thing to take away from Bournemouth is, as you said, how great it is to see David Brooks back out on that pitch. I think that's absolutely fantastic from any football fan's point of view. So yeah, brilliant.
Now, your last game, Matt, was in the FA Cup. On track a little bit to progress to the next round, but it all sort of went a bit downhill in the last quarter of the game. You've had a few players sent off. The manager as well, maybe might not be on the touchline, but I know you were speaking very highly of Mitrovic. You're saying he's going to smash it this time round. It's not going to be like it was previously. He has done that. He's your top goal scorer. Willian has been brilliant for you, like Jon said, but you're going to be missing them on Saturday. So do tell us about those suspensions from that Man United game and some players that can come in to help you and your Fulham fans in this fixture.
Well, yeah, obviously on that game, we were the best team for 70 minutes. I don't think you need to be a Fulham fan to note that. We were absolutely fantastic. And for it all to just capitulate within the space of a minute is painful. You know, you're that close to Wembley. But Willian, it's instinct for him there to handball it. You know, it's one of those, you'd say leave it, let it go, you'll have 11. But it's instinct. If someone's going to throw something at you, you're going to try and block it. Mitrovic, you know, what can you say? We're not a fan of Chris Kavanagh in SW6, but it's one of those things, really. You know, you can't go doing that. And the calls for, there's been a bit of a witch hunt on him, which is the main bit that's really annoyed me. You know, seeing like calls for a 9-month ban, a 15-game ban from Dean Saunders. I mean, load of old rubbish. You know, sort of, you're expecting more than 3, but it should be definitely less than 10. You know, I'd take 6 games at the moment. So they are going to be a big miss. They've been really good players and made the difference. But we've got the depth-ish. We've got quality in those positions. So Solomon, who has been fantastic, he was out with a knee injury for the first half of the season to miss the reverse fixture. He scored 4 goals in 4 games, and he come off the bench for a few of those. He started a couple as well. He started against Brentford and got his goal. He's been absolutely brilliant, and he's going to definitely come in for Willian. He's so quick. It's like he's got tape on his boot. He could just keep the ball with him. He is ridiculous. So, but he is only on loan. One of those complicated ones from Shakhtar where you hope that we'll keep him, but that could go either way there. And then Carlos Vinicius up front, formerly of Spurs. He got his goal against Chelsea. He got the winner. He's got a goal against Brentford as well, which was a consolation. I really like him, but the problem is Fulham fans will compare him to Mitrovic, or will say he's not as good as Mitrovic. However, any club signing a striker knowing they're going to be second choice is never going to be an amazing striker, because they know they're not going to get as many games or as many minutes. So you have to kind of lower your expectations and be realistic with what you're expecting as a backup. Do I think he can score on Saturday? Absolutely. I really like him. He's same sort of build as Mitrovic, left-footed. Yeah, I have faith, obviously. I've always got faith in the players that come in. We've got a really, really good side and a really good manager who has said he will be on the touchline. So we'll see.
Interesting. Jon, I know there's another player in the Fulham team that's got the most assists this season, is Pereira. He didn't cut it at Manchester United completely. Went away. I think he went to Brazilian football, and then he came back to Fulham, and he's having a pretty good season. I mean, he's their top assist maker, and if he's playing on Saturday, he's got some real talent, especially from the portions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's their chief creator. He's created more chances than any other Fulham player. You know, he plays most of them. He's one of those, another one of those signings that sort of like popped up in terms of Fulham, what Fulham were looking to bring in, and you're just sort of like, I mean, that could be all right. And then he's just been brilliant. So it's worked out really well in that regard. And yeah, it was a player that you felt never really was going to make it at Manchester United, needed an opportunity to go and prove himself, did really well in Brazil, and then has come in and been a fantastic player for Fulham. He's been he's something that I'm hoping Bournemouth are able to do in terms of maybe not lock him down, but certainly he doesn't, as far as I can look in the stats, I haven't watched Fulham much this season, he's not exactly one to track back. and make tackles. Solomon has produced as many tackles as him in 3 games as Pereira has in 16. So when you're looking at what you can, I say exploit, which is not really the word I'm looking for. You're hoping that you can at least work around him, even if trying to nullify him is going to be incredibly difficult. But he's not the only one to look at. And Solomon, as Matt mentioned, is he's had 6 shots, 5 on target, and he scored 4 goals. I mean, that's an outstanding record. It's ridiculous, to be honest. So he's 2 of which were like identical curlers into the top right hand corner. So Adam Smith isn't the most mobile right back, so I do hope that he's able to do a decent job at trying to shut him down somewhat. But you've got an incredibly hard worker on the other side in Bobby Reid. You've got whoever will. It's Paulinho, obviously in the middle, will play. Who's God, I wish he was suspended. But another fantastic player. Yeah, there's still got a decent amount of threats. Even missing Mitrovic, you've still got a very physical attacker, as you mentioned in the sub coming in. So yeah, there's still a lot to worry about with Fulham, but certainly losing 2 very talented attacking players to your opposition, not having them is a boon to you. So we'll see what we can make of that in terms on Friday. Saturday.
I was going to say one thing, John, as well. I think what a lot of people thought was that we'd be over-reliant on Mitrovic coming into this season, and that's something that we've really dispelled. In the league, he's not scored since January the 3rd. So, which, the numbers can be quite deceptive. He got 6 in his first 6 or something, but we're getting goals from elsewhere. Paulinho's had a few, Pereira's had a few as well. Can't remember the exact numbers. But yeah, as you say, we've got threats from everywhere, and I think Smith could struggle because Solomon's very quick, and we've got Anthony Robinson, and Robinson is absolutely rapid. So, I think it's important for wingers that play against Robinson to help out their fullbacks because he does like to get on the overlap. So that'll be a tricky game for Adam Smith. So I'm sure from your perspective, you're hoping he has a game of his life there.
Matt, how close is this predicted lineup from Fantasy Football Scout that we found online? Is this quite close to what you're expecting to see on Saturday?
I'm expecting exactly that lineup.
Did you draw this up?
No, but you'd think so, to be fair, because just sort of breaking that down. Obviously, Leno, we don't need to mention because he's just been fantastic. Tete the same. Diop coming for 15 million has just been a stalwart at centre back alongside Tim Ream. Those 2 together have been fantastic and played above expectations. And then Robinson, and then the rest speaks for itself really, with suspensions, but also recent performances. Harrison Reed, bit biased maybe, but if Calvin Phillips can get a call up for England, then Harrison Reed should have been in with a little shout. I think he's been absolutely fantastic all season, and could be something that England needed. But Gareth decided to look elsewhere. So yeah, that team looks probably how it will be.
Fantastic, Matt. Right, now you've got to think about your score prediction. Thank you again for giving us an opposition view on this fixture. You come into Bournemouth, so you come into the game just like you have done previously. So your closing comments ahead of this game and your score prediction, Matt.
It'll be a good game. I was hoping for decent weather like last year, but lo and behold, it's expecting to rain. So never mind.
Mix up the game though.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll be a good game. Bournemouth have obviously got a lot more to play for in terms of survival. Will we get Europe? I'd say it's probably unlikely now, but I still want us to get as many points as possible. We're not actually at the 40-point mark yet, which is where we want to be. So we've still got to play for that. We're not home and dry officially. As you said, there's been a few draws between the teams. So I'm hoping we can break the mould. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 to Fulham in the rain. But we'll see. It's going to be a tough game. But obviously, as I said, I hope Bournemouth stay up because it's a fantastic away day and some really great fans as well and a great place. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see you all next season.
Very kind. Thank you very much. Yes, the last 3 games are score draws, I think, the last 3 fixtures. So, yes, very interesting. Matt, brilliant. Thanks for giving us this opposition view. And please do check out Fulham Focus this weekend. Details in the description. But this preview will continue. We'll move all our focus to the Cherries. And we've got your score predictions coming later. John, let's do a little bit of a quiz as well as we see Matt off. And we'll see you on Saturday, Matt.
See ya.
Make sure you hit that like button. Thank you to everyone joining us live. If you're watching this video back, thank you very much. Do hit the like button. John, let's have a little bit of a game here with Guess the Player. We do include it in some of our streams and our previews. I've mixed it up a little bit now. I'm going to give 2 clues. I'm going to give one now, and I'm going to give one in about 5 minutes' time. You can play along in the chat. So we are doing Guess the Player on this match preview as Bournemouth take on Fulham. And John, as you will see, there is a match stat for this player. He played 80 minutes in this match. He scored a goal, he got an assist, and he had an expected goals of 0.51 and had 50 touches. I will give another clue in a bit, but that is your first clue for Guess the Player. So do think about it. Don't want your answers in the chat yet. No Google. And it is time, John, for Bournemouth to focus again. 11 games to go. And I do see this as a must win. And going into this, John, we've had the international break. We've got to get some players back. It's really important when we look at the predicted 11 in a bit that we try and get the likes of Tavernier back because he was so crucial to the points that we've got on the board. And I'm looking at players like Kiefer Moore. Can they have a say in this season from here on in? I know it's difficult to get them in there without budging out Dom Solanke into a different part of the pitch. But we've got to get Traore here. Can we get Sabani in the back 4? This is going to be crucial to us, I think, to get some of these players back fit in this squad selection.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do think that we're not really in such a difficult position as we were at the start of the season in terms of necessarily having to bring quite the players back in. I mean, you know, with Semenyo available, Semenyo scoring in the international break as well, doing a great job there. You know, he can fill in anywhere across the front 3. Ouattara's fit and firing. We've got options up front on the left wing. We've still got options in Anthony, even if Traore doesn't play. You know, Billing has been doing a fantastic job no matter where he plays in midfield, even if Traore isn't available, though I do believe Traore is a really, really useful player for us to have in that number 10 role if he's able to play. But yeah, I mean, even with Sabani, I mean, if he comes in as highly rated as he is, who's he going to come in for? He's going to come in for someone that people don't want to get dropped. And you know, in all, like, whether it's Stevens or Senesi. I mean, Senesi, up until the most recent one, had won 2 Player of the Month awards in a row, and has been getting some rave reviews. Stevens is a player that, you know, I think a lot of people have suddenly, you know, I say not suddenly, but really have felt that he's been relatively flawless in the games that he's been playing recently. So it's not as if we can't upgrade on some of the players that we use, without a doubt. I think that's what we did in January. So we do want as many of those available as possible. But yeah, it's you know, the bigger the squad, the better it'll be. If we can get David Brooks involved in his actual position in when he comes on in games going forward, hopefully he can have an impact off that right hand side. Yeah, there's a decent depth in this squad now, I think, but they need to be able to actually put in those performances, and that is behind the manager getting them set up right and making sure that when they're on, they know exactly what they're doing. And yeah, I don't think that was necessarily the case against Villa.
Am I back?
I think you are back now.
I am back. Apologies for that. I just lost signal temporarily. Apologies for that, but we are live. That's what happens on YouTube. We do try to stream so you can interactively get involved, but sometimes we do have complications with the internet. John, I was speaking about a player in the fan debate that we had at the start of the week, and I know that you've done a sort of conversation chat with the other 14, which those videos are on the channel. And within that, I'm looking at some areas where Bournemouth can improve to get us over the line, get us above that dotted line. And one of the areas that I saw that the other 14 dropped was that we've got the least amount of goal scorers from an overall team summary. And when you look at that, you can also look at your goal scorers in the team. And Dom Solanke is someone that's clearly highlighted throughout the fan base at the moment. Only 3 league goals all season, hasn't scored since November. But he does like a goal against Fulham. This would be his 4th consecutive time scoring against them if he scores against Fulham on Saturday. But where are you at with Dom Solanke? Because we always hear he does more than that. He tracks back. He's an option. His hold up plays a lot better. But for me, John, got to score goals now. 11 games to go. We need goals to stay up. Where are you at with Dom Solanke? And do you think he can score on Saturday against Fulham?
It's a difficult one with Solanke because I think that he is just so capable. Its all-round game is so capable, and I know people are probably already switching off and thinking like, yes, but he's a striker, he needs to score goals. And while yes, that's absolutely true, and at the moment we've got Billing as our top scorer, we've got Kiefer Moore behind him, and then Solanke follows in third. As you mentioned, you need everyone to be able to chip in. There's the phrase I'm looking for. You need everyone to chip in with goals, and we have the fewest number of goal scorers in the squad. And I mean, as much as Ouattara's got 3 assists so far, he's also missed however many one-on-ones. Got Traore, I expect to get involved in some regard, and he hasn't scored yet. Semenyo hasn't really got many chances. But then from the midfield, look at all our midfielders. Billing's the only goal scorer from midfield, I believe, in terms of central midfield. Defenders haven't contributed much. Senesi is, I think, the only defender that's contributed with a goal. Yeah. You need more than just your striker. As we had Matt from Fulham Focus, is that people thought it would just be, well, if you stop Mitrovic, you'll stop Fulham. Well, that's not the case. Fulham hasn't scored since January, and they've continued to win games and perform well. Solanke needs to be part of a group that attacks well. And as much as we can focus on Solanke, the fact is we don't create enough chances for him. Maybe he doesn't take enough shots. That's a legitimate query you can have on him. But we have the lowest XG in the division. We have the second fewest touches in the opposition box in the division. You need to create chances for him. I admit he needs to get in the penalty area more often, but we need to be in the opposition third to get it in the penalty area more often. And we have the lowest possession in the division. It's a whole team effort, both in attacking and defending. And, at the moment, our plan is very much counter-attacking. And that's mostly what we have in terms of where we're going to create our best chances from. For that to happen, Solanke's probably not going to be on the end of those counters most of the time. You've only got to look at Ouattara's one-on-one against Liverpool. It was Solanke that set him on his way. And I think that you'll see that a lot going forward, in that Solanke's able to provide, the balls for the overlapping runs of our wingers. He's going to be involved. He's not going to be on the end of everything. But when he is there, he needs to convert, and he is underperforming this season. So it's an all-round thing. And as much as I understand the criticism, who are you going to replace him with? I understand Kiefer Moore coming in, but you've got to change the way you play. And we can't play a counter-attacking game with Kiefer Moore as the striker. Or you play Semenyo. And I do think that there's, I can't remember the game he started for us, but I think he did a decent. That sounds familiar. I think he's only started one game up front.
Or Brighton.
I think that was it. I think it may well have been Brighton. That was it. He started one game in the number Brighton. 9 for us, and I think it was Brighton. And I think he had a decent game. But I do think that there were still things where you sort of go, okay, he's still adjusting to the Premier League, because there are definitely aspects to his game where it's just like, okay, you're being a little bit too selfish at times here, or you need to hold on to the ball better. And that's something that Solanke does. So it's a difficult one that I understand you might want to say Solanke's not doing A, let's bring in someone else who can do it. But I just don't think there's anyone better than him that we've got to play the role that we want him to play as the number 9. So yeah, it's gonna lead to a lot of debate, which is good. But I do think that I still would rather have Solanke as my number 9 in this team at the moment.
Yeah, I still think I'm there as well with Dom Solanke. I think I still want him up top. But Kiefer Moore scores every 200 odd minutes. He's our second top goal scorer. Dom Solanke scores 1 in every 7 games. One defender that scored all season in Senesi. Tavernier has added goals, but there's only been fit for 2 games out of 12. Those are the numbers that we've got to change. And if we can add value around the pitch, then we'll definitely have a stronger chance in getting above that line. Let's go back to guess the player then. Here's your second clue. So your first clue, John, and everyone who's watching, if you want to play along in the chat, that was your match stat. He played 80 minutes in this fixture. It was a goal, assist, a 0.51 XG, and 50 touches. Your second clue then is his league season heat map. This might give it away. He's quite hot on both sides, all right, of the football pitch. And that is your season heat map. That is your second clue. If you want to start guessing in the chat now, who do you think we're talking about in this match preview? And John, I'll ask you who you think it is in just a moment. But first of all, let's take a look at Bournemouth's predicted 11 for this fixture from Fantasy Football Scout. They've gone for Neto, Smith, Stevens, Senesi, Kelly left back, Dango, Lerma, Billing, Anthony, Traore and Solanke. The big question for me, John, is left back. Is the situation with Zamora sorted? Does Vinya get a chance? Is it more going to be Kelly at home because I'm more comfortable with Kelly at left back at home? I think I want something else on the road generally, but that looks like the team that's been the team for the last couple of fixtures, and that's why they've gone with that predicted 11. Your thoughts on that potential team that might start on Saturday?
That's an interesting one. You say you prefer Kelly at home, and I would have thought
so.
the other way around. I would have
Yeah,
thought
I know what you mean because of the overlaps and actually getting on the front foot, I suppose.
Yeah, because this is the issue that we've got with this one at the moment is that if you play with that back four, who's the attacker? Who's the one that's really going to get up the line?
Actually, if I'm being completely honest, John, I'd want to see Vinya start. That's who I'd like to see start on Saturday.
I think that would be a decent shout. I do think that we'll probably see Kelly get the nod again because he is, well, I say one of the senior players. He's still 24. But he's one of the sort of the favoured players, without doubt, from all of the recent managers that we've had. And I think that he definitely has his strengths. But I would say that I do worry about him at times one-on-one. In terms of on the counter, when our opposition are countering us, he backs off far too quickly, and I do worry about him sort of not dealing with players that are coming at him. In terms of like when we're in a sort of quite solid deep block, I think he works really, really well. A left back or centre back quite well defensively in a group, but he doesn't really get forward enough for me at all from left back. And then Adam Smith has been given more license to get forward when Kelly plays at left back because Kelly drops and Smith gets forward a bit. And Smith has his capabilities going forward, but I don't think we use him well enough, and I don't think he crosses quickly enough because he's actually a decent cross of the ball, just doesn't get the ball out of his feet and cross it enough. I would far rather have Zamora at left back, particularly when we're at home, when there is more onus on us to get forward. Obviously, this is on the assumption that Zamora's contract situation is, in a half decent position at the moment, and they're comfortable using him. I do think that you're shooting yourself in the foot. And I understand if we're saying like this is the contract, sign it, and he goes no, then I understand not playing him to a point in terms of you want to make a stance, but you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're not playing him. Admittedly, we don't know how good Vinya could be. And I think if we want to get forward, if you can't play Zamora and we need to be attacking in this game, I would rather see Vinya in left back. Apart from that, I think the rest of it's pretty bang on. Admittedly, I do think left mid is an interesting position as well in terms of Anthony, who has been okay. But I do think if Zamora doesn't play, he's just not as good. It's just straight up. They both make each other better. So if Tav is fit, you'd play him probably, but it'd be interesting whether he is. You could argue that you could put Traore on the left-hand side, put Billing as the 10, and maybe play Cook and Lerma in central midfield. Or Rothwell, who has had a really decent run of games in midfield with Lerma. But I think that's certainly at least 8 or 9 correct there. But yeah, left back and left mid, I think, is the interesting one. And then possibly if Traore is fit, whether he plays or whether Billing stays as number 10 or not. There's a little bit of we don't know, but it's mostly there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if I had the real choice, it would be to play either Jordan Zamora or Vinya on Saturday at left back, but we'll see what happens. It'll probably be Lloyd Kelly. But do let us know in the comments what you think, if you're watching this video back, about that predicted lineup. Let's guess the player out. Let's get the sort of result out then, shall we, John? You had your clues. You had your season heat map for this player in the league. You had your match stat. I've seen some guesses in the chat for Adam Smith. Where are you at for guess the player?
It's got to be Marcus Tavernier, hasn't it?
So Liam's gone for Adam Smith. And Chris has gone for Adam Smith. And you might have your opinions. Put them in the chat if you want to. So you're going for Marcus Tavernier?
Yeah, I would think
Locking
so. Winger that's got a goal and an assist in a match, and he's done that more than once this season, I believe. And he takes corners as well. You can see the hot spots in the corner slots. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Marcus Tavernier.
And this is the stat man. The stat man. Well, let's do the reveal. There's your season heat map for guess the player on this match preview. That's his stat from a particular fixture, and it is too easy. It's Marcus Tavernier, 17 league appearances, 3 goals, 4 assists, 49% success dribbles, and 76% accurate passing. Too easy, John. I did this earlier on in the season. These quizzes were too easy. Then I got better. I'm going backwards again. But Marcus Tavernier, I'd love to see him on Saturday. I'm not sure if he's going to be fit enough, but we need Marcus Tavernier back in this team, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, he's just. It's such a shame that he came into such form just as we were going into the just as the point at which he got injured, and we were going into the World Cup. But the quicker he's back, I think the more options we've got, the better it'll be. But
100%. Right, this is your 1 minute warning on this match preview. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching this video. This is your score predictions. We need them in the chat now. Your 1 minute warning. What do you think the score will be on Saturday between Bournemouth and Fulham at Dean Court? As we take a look at the rest of the fixtures in the Premier League this weekend, Manchester City take on Liverpool, early kickoff, 12:30, Bournemouth versus Fulham, Nottingham Forest against Wolves, Crystal Palace, Leicester, Arsenal, Leeds, Brighton, Brentford, Chelsea, Aston Villa, West Ham take on Southampton, Newcastle against Manchester United, and Everton, Tottenham. John, I'll show the league table in a moment as well, but there are some 6-pointers. Is it too early for 6-pointers?
Not at all. Not at all. I'd say that in terms of interesting ones to look out there, West Ham Southampton, I have no idea why that's on a Sunday, but that one's an interesting one for our fight down at the bottom. And Crystal Palace Leicester as well down in our scrap. Crystal Palace definitely down in and around us in 12th, I think, but certainly only 3 points away from us. So yeah, that's an interesting one. And one I'll definitely watch is on Sunday is Newcastle Man United. That's not talking, of course, about the early kickoff on Saturday, which I'm sure is what most of the league are talking about in Man City Liverpool. But I'm obviously Eddie's Newcastle going up against Man United should be a fascinating one on Sunday as well.
This league table is still absolutely ridiculous, but you do look at it, John, and we've had some conversations and done some videos with Mark McAdam and Jacob Tanswell, and it's absolutely right. Look, if somehow the Cherries can beat Fulham on Saturday and do a double over Brighton on the Tuesday, we haven't had any back-to-back wins all season, but that would just catapult you several positions potentially.
I mean, it could take us up to 12th, 2 wins in a row. It would essentially take us up to 12th, really, because, I mean, as much as a win against Fulham here is unlikely to take us, if we were to win, it wouldn't probably take us too much higher than maybe 16th, because West Ham and Southampton are playing against each other. You've got Leicester and Palace against each other. The second one, suddenly, 6 points, we've gone 30, and now you're only looking at maybe, I don't know, 6 more points for the rest of the season to possibly stay up or something like that. I mean, it won't be easy, but for those of you that do follow the other 14 and their baseline tracker, these 2 games, at home to Fulham, at home to Brighton, they are games you lose points on if you don't get the wins, because these are the home games you're expected to be able to get the points from. And at the moment, we are sort of outside the relegation zone on their baseline tracker. If we don't win both of these games, we will be back into it and be in a worse position. These are games we really, really need to get something from. And as much as they will be very difficult, these Fulham and Brighton are 9th and 7th. They're both in the top half. We need to be aiming for 6 points. We can't be aiming for anything less. I would take 4. I would take a win against Fulham and a draw against Brighton, or vice versa. But if it's anything less than that, well, we'll have to wait and see what we think after these 2 games to wrap our heads around the situation we'll be in.
Yeah, we're going to give our score predictions in a moment. The scores are going in from the fans in the interactive chat. But I do look at this fixture, John, as a must win for a couple of reasons. I think we've got an opportunity against a weakened Fulham team. They're still a good team, but they haven't got their top goal scorer. They haven't got Willian. It's a must win. I think if we don't beat Fulham, it just makes the pressure on Tuesday night even more amplified, and it could just be a real tense atmosphere inside Dean Court against Brighton, where I think if we beat Fulham, and we know we've got the opportunity to get back-to-back wins, but it would be like, well, at least we beat Fulham. So it would almost give us a little bit more freedom to have a go against Brighton, because Brighton are a very, very good side. But look, they've got the freedom to play Brighton. They're not going down. They got maybe some ambitions to do a little bit more higher up, but losing to Fulham, I feel, would just put us in a really, really awful place going into that Brighton game, and that's where I'm at with it. So I think it's a must win. So let's get some score predictions out. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for watching this match preview. Matthew, hope you're doing well. It's going for another score draw between the teams. That would be the 4th one in a row. 1-1, just like last season at Dean Court when Dom Solanke scored a 98th minute penalty. It was 1-1, John, wasn't it? It was 1-1.
Yeah.
It was 1-1. Mark Singleton's going for a Dom brace, 2-0 to the Cherries. Chris Hubble is going 3-2 to Bournemouth. Wing, how are you doing? Needs to be 2-0, probably 1-1, unfortunately. But Wing is going for a 1-0. He's given himself some options. We'll stop with Wing for the moment. John, it's a must win. It's a must win. I think both teams scored, just like we have done many times previously. I've got to go. It's 2-1. It's 2-1 to Bournemouth. We've got to win this game, and Dom has to score. That's my score prediction. What's your score prediction?
I'm the same. I'm 2-1. I think if there's going to be a time where we're going to beat them, particularly at home, it's got to be this time. Without Mitrovic, who has bullied many a backline in the past, without Willian, who's had a fantastic season for Fulham. They're on a 3-match, not in the league because they've only lost 2 in a row in the league, but they're on a 3-match loss streak across league and cup. We just this is the best chance we're going to get, and it's against a team that, as mentioned before, we would have expected to be down near us. As much as they're not, we were in the same division. We were fighting for the top spot in the Championship last season. We should be on close to level footing with this team. Table says we're far from it, but there's a more confidence in this side that I believe there is, and we've got to try and upset the odds a little bit in this one. And I'm sure we'll score. I'm fairly confident we'll score. It's just about I suppose who it is and how many. If Dom Solanke doesn't score, I'd love to see Ouattara score, because I think he needs to start putting them away, because he's had enough chances to do so so far. His XG's over 3, and he hasn't got a single goal yet. So yeah, I'm going with 2-1. I'd like to see Dom score. I'm going to say that Ouattara will score, and then I suppose it depends who else plays. But let's go for Ouattara and Billing. I think I'll go for a 2-1 win.
Both me and John going for a 2-1 win. And Cameron is going for 2-1 to the Cherries, and Liam is going for a score draw. Please do subscribe to Cherries Red Army. We are getting closer to 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. Make sure you check out John's video with the other 14. We also did a fan debate at the start of the week. And of course, we'll get you a match day vlog this weekend on Sunday and a reaction after the game, hopefully on Saturday. So do hit the like button. We'll also give a massive shout out to our monthly members, and anyone who donates, you can donate or become a member at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army. But honestly, just hit that like button and I'll be very, very much appreciated. And so will John. John, we've got to close out this match preview. We've talked about it being a must win. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a must win. But also there's 11 games to go in this survival fight. This is the start. I don't want to get to any point of the end where we just go, what if? I just want us to be aggressive. I know that at times we're going to try and be a little bit technical, and we're going to try and set ourselves up to, whatever the opposition are going to try and do, we're going to set ourselves up to try and nullify it. But we've got to play to our strengths. It's in our DNA. Many managers have tried those tactics before, even the best, and have failed generally. So I don't want any regrets, John. Your summary going into this fixture, we've got to just play to our strengths, be aggressive, and take our chances.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But we've got to create more chances as well. As much as we have been doing better in that regard over the last sort of couple months, up until Villa, our performances have been steadily improving. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But things need to be coming together more consistently. And what chances we create, we need to be putting away. Hopefully we'll start seeing that coming forward from Saturday onwards. We have a decent opportunity. We have a really decent opportunity to stay up. At the moment, our odds, we're one of the favourites to go down. We're probably favourites most likely to finish 19th, say the stats and Opta and whatnot. But we also have one of the most favourable run-ins. Yes. After Crystal Palace, we have the most favourable run-in of the teams down there. And when you consider two of the teams that are significantly above us that we're playing are Fulham and Brighton at home, out of the difficult games, those are two of the easier ones. So, this one is absolutely a must-win. The Brighton one is probably a must-not-lose. But, yeah, this is squeaky bum time now, as it were, and it absolutely starts on Saturday against Fulham.
Absolutely does. John, thank you very much for your contribution on this match preview. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you to Matt as well from Fulham Focus to give us an opposition view. Thank you to you, the fans, for checking out this video, and anyone who's joined us interactive and live this evening. This is your match preview then for Bournemouth against Fulham. It's going to be an interesting game, always is, between the teams. And the Cherries, we need to win because we'll get above that dotted line if we're going to stay up this season. From me, John, and Matt, we'll see you on the next one. Up the Cherries.
Up the Cherries.